Welcome back to the channel. It's time to get the comic book retrospective crew back together, and we're going back to Marvel Comics Captain America, perhaps the most patriotic hero of all times. Captain America 312, Deface the Nation, the first appearance of Flag Smasher, and here talking about this, as always, is award-winning comic book editor Joe Corrado. How you doing, Joe?
I'm all right, Wes. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. We've also got the man so cool, they call him the Breen, the voice of the voiceless, the OG comic book reader here on the channel, Eric Breen. How you doing, Eric?
I'm good.
Well, I'm glad that we got to do this one. Released in September of 1985, Mark Gruenwald, Paul Neary, the first appearance of Flag Smasher, a character. Even if you don't read Captain America, the comic books, you will be familiar from the TV show on Disney+. This is a very different version of that character, Joe.
The original version of this character is part of this organization, Ultimatum, and their main goal is to basically annihilate nationalism across the globe. And the way it starts, I mean, it's a great sort of chilling introduction to the character, where in the first couple of pages, he attacks the UN. And I think it's a really great sort of chilling introduction for a character like this.
I quite enjoyed it myself. Breen, not everyone talks about Mark Gruenwald in the annals of best comic book writers of all time. Does he have, in fact, the best Captain America run of all times? It's debatable.
That seems to be the consensus opinion. I mean, he was there for years. And what I like about his run better than anybody's, maybe even Brubaker's, was his Captain America. Steve Rogers felt like a real person more in this, and not just like the disguise when he wasn't Captain America, because they gave him the supporting cast. And when he was living in the apartment for all those years, it just had more of a human feel to it than others. And I said, I think that's what I appreciated most about his run.
Joe, is Mark Gruenwald your favorite writer? I know you talk about him a lot behind the scenes.
Definitely for Cap. This is probably up there. I don't think you have the Grunwald run without Stern and Byrne, because they set stuff up that he would use as well. But also he mines the Englehart run quite a bit. Like you could look at some of the stuff he does with Captain America, No More and all that. And it's kind of like a hybrid story of when Cap fought the Commie Smasher Cap from the 50s, and then Secret Empire. It does kind of feel like a blending of those two storylines. Very similarly, really going out there, being having a lot of ingenuity, like using the Serpent Society kind of members, like building up the love interests, like having a more human approach to Steve. Like he's a cop for some of Englehart's run. So yeah, I think Englehart laid a lot of the blueprints out for Mark to use quite effectively throughout his tenure.
Let's get right into Captain America number 312, Deface the Nation, the first appearance of Flag Smasher. Breen, we see Flag Smasher pretty much from the get-go. And as we see him, everything gets more and more elevated as far as what he's doing and the statement that he's trying to make. Here, as Joe mentioned earlier, he goes out there and he starts literally smashing flags at the UN to let people know that he's on the way.
Like Joe said, he's not a fan of nationalism, and this is his first strike. Hey, I'm here. You come out of those first couple of pages wondering what's he going to do next, because something's going to follow up. Like I say, he makes quite a formidable introduction to himself.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, Joe, we do see Captain America, not as Cap, but as Steve Rogers. He's in his apartment. He's left the military. He's no longer affiliated with them. I guess he sent the government a letter saying, hey, I've ended my service. I don't know what you guys want to do with this. And they sent him a check for like $1 million or something like that. Obviously, back in 1985, that would have been a ton of money. And Cap doesn't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough to take away from his drawing board, because I believe this is in that time period where he was like working for advertising firms, a little before I think he started working for Marvel Comics. But we get there soon. Gets that letter, and then Bernie, who I love Bernie. She's a great character right from the Stern Byrne run, when she was introduced through the Jan DeMatteis, Mike Zeck run through the early parts of Grunwald's, but she's focusing on taking the LSATs, going to law school because she always wanted to do that. But now this money's come in for Steve, and she's trying to, come up with things he can do with the money. And like Breen was saying before, this run has this very human approach to Steve, but also an approach that feels very Steve Rogers, because he's like, this is the taxpayers' money. Yeah,
he does not want it back.
So, and he can't send it back, so he has to do something good with it. It can't be something that just, benefits him. So that's great. It's great seeing that. And while they start, pondering and planning everything to do, because basically he wants to set up a hotline for people to call around the country so he can give back. They have to start looking into the logistics of that and what they can do before we cut away to some of the members of the Serpent Society.
Yes, we get a little side adventure with a couple of Serpent Society members. They're underneath the bowels of the city, setting something up. Never really paid off, at least in this comic book. But we do see the Flag Smasher in the meantime breed. Not only is he going to smash flags, he's actually going to go to a flag factory and just destroy it and burn it down to send his message out there, because he is against nationalism. He also catches wind of what Steve Rogers is doing with his hotline, and that he's going to have this big public appearance. He's going to be out there. He's going to talk to people about what he's going to do next. And he starts reminiscing about where he came from and how he actually became the Flag Smasher. I believe in the meantime, he might also destroy some British flags and maybe deface some property, burning some things on the sides of buildings, in, like, kind of in the meantime there. And we find out his dad was an ambassador. And I guess there was some type of riot or maybe demonstration. And when that happened, his dad was trampled by nationalists.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in these handful of pages where he's setting up the hotline, and you find out just what Captain America means to everybody when the lady says how many companies either donated their equipment, time, and or money, or gave him great rates. And then we find out, we kind of get an origin of his Flag Smasher's motivation, because he does talk about his father, who left something to become more of a humanitarian and was killed, like I said, at a supposed peaceful protest. He even uses those words to that effect. So then he goes out and makes another attack, and I said, abolish nationalism or die. So I said he's not messing around, and then that gets us to where Cap's appearance.
And to just jump on that real quick, that page where we start getting the background of Flag Smasher and how he really went into this, they're showing you the parallels, because the top panel is Steve sitting on the couch talking to Bernie, and then the next panel is Flag Smasher sitting on the couch, very similar positions. It's kind of a way of going into this origin story with this idea of maybe if things were different, he would have ended up more like Captain America and not like Flag Smasher.
Very interesting stuff. And Captain America does show up to this public appearance, Joe, to let everyone know about the hotline and what he's going to do personally, putting his own money on the line to go out there and really try to help people, because that's what he believes in. The Flag Smasher decides that he is the symbol of nationalism in America, shows up, and they have kind of a philosophical debate at this point. Captain America defending America and patriotism. He also gets some really good feedback from the crowd. I love at one point, one of the crowd members tells Flag Smasher, "Go home, commie," which I thought was absolutely brilliant. I wanted to give him a slow clap. I love that moment. Then the Flag Smasher's like, "I don't like communism either." He kind of explains why he doesn't support that. So he is a man of principle, and he is absolutely against everything that Captain America stands for. But he loses the debate quite handily.
No, he loses that debate, and it's done in a very sort of exciting way. Like Flag Smasher really crashes in, starts burning the flag. There's fire, there's chaos. He's flying around in this, mobile. He at one point is able to get the shield from Cap. Like there's some really exciting stuff going on in here, and also the blonde woman there, who's the news reporter, shows up in a few issues from now too. Like she's not a big supporting character, but there is some continuity where she shows up as a news reporter for, I think one of the best panels there is like when Cap's talking, he's making the speech on the top panel, and then the panel directly below it, you see in the distance Flag Smasher flying through to get over to Cap. It's a very well put together sequence.
And real quick, there's also a couple of things where just illustrations of how good of a writer Gruenwald was. There's a scene where they're talking and he's got the gun pointed at Cap and the cameraman saying to himself, if only I had the guts to do something. Because you see these all the time in comic books, these people just come out of nowhere to, yes, but in real life, this guy'd be scared out of his mind. And that's how he's portrayed in the comic. And then you have Bernie, who's in her, as she called it, cheap blonde wig, saying, should I go help? And she goes, no. Steve always said, leave the heroics to the professionals.
Yeah.
No chance you get that now, but it fit perfectly because in real life, this would be a pretty tense situation.
Yeah.
I like the way that was, really like the way that was written.
So they do have their verbal standoff, and Captain America does win that. That is not enough for Flag Smasher Breed. They decide it needs to be a physical confrontation. We even get a mace brought out. They're trying to kind of kill each other. And in the end, Captain America, not surprisingly, does overcome Flag Smasher, basically incapacitates him. He's knocked out on the ground, and that's kind of the end of this character. At least this appearance, or the first appearance of Flag Smasher here. Despite
all the lead in, the impressive shows of I don't know if force is the right word. Yeah, the impressive array of destruction that he left up to this point. When it came time to go mano a mano with Cap, it does not last long, nor should it, because I don't care what this guy did to get ready for that. It's Captain freaking America, and like I said, short and sweet.
Absolutely wipes the floor with him, takes him out. He is a super soldier after all, and just a fantastic introduction to another great villain. Fantastic comic book from Mark Gruenwald. Joe, if people want to get this, they can probably find this in the back issues, and it's not going to be something that's going to blow a hole in your wallet or anything like that, but it's certainly captured in a lot of trades and collections as well.
Yeah, it's I have it in the Serpents Society of Serpents Epic Collection, which Breen also has as well. Most of Grunwald's run has been put in Epic Collection. I think this one might be low stock or out of print, but a lot of shops might still have it, and I don't think it's going for a ton right now. But as you really benefit from reading it from the beginning and going through before you get to the Captain and the Bloodstone Hunt and Acts of Vengeance and things like that.
Really enjoy doing that comic book retro. Obviously, this is not the first time we talked about Captain America. He's Captain freaking America, one of the greatest superheroes in the history of superheroes. In fact, we reviewed the Jim Steranko Captain America story that he did. It's just a short run. The art is absolutely fantastic. Steranko is a legend for a reason. Definitely check this one out if you want some more great classic Captain America. If you don't see it here, there's also a link in the video description.